let's have a look as we look around the world to Tucker taking on one of these self-proclaimed leaders who is actually, and he proved me right. He proved me right. I took so many bows. I've been so happy about this. I've been telling people for years and years and years about the multiracialization of the anti-Jew spurging environments who have been claiming erroneously that they are the pro-white movement. I mean, you know, the ADL, it's amazing. The ADL, so many Jewish organizations out there, they should look at what we're doing and say, look at how much these so-called white nationalists, pro-white people, look at how much they actually, how much they attack and vilify the people who actually care about white people. Because we are the evidence that they just hate Jews. We are the evidence of that. If they actually cared about white people, they would love us. They would love us. They would think it, maybe they would think if they actually cared about white people, but they were sincere in their error. All right, imagine this. If they were sincere in their error, that their real focus was helping white people, and they erroneously came to this impossible conclusion that they had to get rid of Jews first for that to ever happen. Let's just say that they were sincerely wrong about this. They're not sincerely wrong, but let's say they were sincerely wrong. If they were sincerely wrong, if people like Fuentes, Nikki here, was sincerely wrong, he would look on this community, he would look on 3 decades of service, and there would be nothing but laudation. There would be nothing but praise. There would be nothing but adulation. There would be nothing but love. This is amazing. We love white people and want to do right by white people. They love white people. That's all they do. They don't have. Now, the Fuentesians and all of these other so-called, these so-called pro-white people, they would think, well, we don't think they have it exactly right. We think that you've got to get rid of Jews first, but their thing is just to focus on white people. And so we endorse and support them there. We think they got it a little wrong. That's not what happens, is it? That's not what has ever happened. Jew organizations out there, are you listening? We are the evidence that all of these so-called pro-white groups, that they don't care about white people. They just hate you. And I can confirm, they just hate you. They don't care about white people. That's just a pretext to hate you. That's the reality. You show up, as I have for decades, saying that we are going to be serving white well-being. We're going to be opposing all anti-whites, irrespective of birth. And what do they say to you? No. You show up and you say, look at all of the successes. And we got an epic testimonial from an epic human being, Dallas Malloy, that we're going to be taking a look at by way of the great authorship in journalism of Cindy Bin. And we're going to be taking a look at that maybe sooner than later in our gathering today. As we look into this, I got to say, I love it. I love this. I'm not a friend of Tucker, but this I love, I got to say. But the bottom line is, you show up and you're like, well, we oppose all anti-whites. We're just focused on white people. No, you aren't allowed to do that. And if that's what you do, if you are going to focus on helping white people and benefiting white people, objecting to all anti-whites, if that's what you're going to do, then we're going to tell people that you're a Jew. Then we're going to tell people that you're a Fed. Then we're going to harass people who watch you. Then we're going to vex and slander everybody who partakes in that program, in that practice. We're going to follow you around, slandering you like a fucking cult does when you won't obey their edicts, when you won't speak in their specific World War II anachronistic language. Jews, they're not pro-white. They just hate you. So Nick Fuentes.
You're saying you're a white supremacist?
I'm not a white supremacist. I'm excellent. I'm not Fuentes.
I know. I saw that.
Yeah.
Okay. But
proving just the other day in his conversation with Arville, I literally quoted him where he said, yes, the focus isn't on almost zero on race. It's all about being anti-Jew. And it's multiracial, he said. My God, we didn't gain how many? I should have had thousands of new folks pouring in. Yet another prediction right, where I don't have to take contradictory, like Fuentes does. I don't have to take conflicting, contradictory positions from one week to the next in order in the future to look back and say, I can find a show where I took that position. No shit. No shit. It gets really easy when you take every position. So yet again, but being right doesn't serve you when it comes to the white race. What a glorious thing. Tucker Carlson the other day had Candace Owens on, and Candace Owens apparently had Fuentes on. Big mistake. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to give some advice to these people, but big mistake. This, though, I loved.
That's obvious to me. I've been around a long time. I know it when I see it.
Yeah. And I will say, I don't understand it. We were very kind to him. Like, I truly, like, we almost said, like, we felt maybe he was a bit lonely. We should invite him back for dinner. I mean, that.
We felt he was a bit lonely. Maybe we should invite him back for dinner.
That's how good of an experience I had.
Did anybody see this conversation? It's not important to watch. Just this little snippet here, I think is hilarious. We're going to have some comments on Fuentes' response to this, which is truly a great example of Fuentes and how he works, how he is self-serving in everything he says and does. But I think Tucker gets this right on the nose.
It's clearly.
And then it was a 180. So it's either A, it's being driven from like a little boy insecurity, and he just was so worried that he
a little boy insecurity. Yes.
Just went on the attack because he doesn't know how to have normal relations after being banned everywhere.
Well, I think there's that
could be one element.
The angry gay kid thing going on.
Yes. He thinks the angry gay kid thing is going on there. Yeah.
Or it's
I'm not saying it. Tucker is.
What you're saying, where he does this, he's lying to everybody and pretending that things are one way when it's not. I can say
why is he attacking Joe Kent, who, Joe Kent worked as a CIA contractor, paramilitary contractor.
Listen, Tucker goes into this Fuentes must be working for some entity to destroy those who are honestly and genuinely and good people who take on the neocons. And so he must be working for some group of people. Much more realistic answer is that Fuentes does everything that occurs to him that will make him more popular, that will make him more famous or infamous, that will make him more on and on. Joe Kent was a wannabe politician, former CIA in the Middle East for a long time. Maybe he's still a spook. Who knows? Who cares? You can't do anything about it. Either can I. All you can do is bitch about it, right? Go stock the fucking shelves, okay? More Bud Light on the shelf, all right? You can worry about who's in the CIA when you're done with your shift, right? So they find a guy that is on the cusp of, well, will he make it? Will he not make it? And so this guy reaches out, actually, as I understand what happened, reaches out because you have this spurgy, basement-dwelling, unhealthy, dysfunctional, maladapted audience. And this guy and his campaign manager, they think, hey, you could maybe get some support. They could go hand out leaflets, right? Yes, they live in their basements. And yes, they're dysfunctional, but they can still hand out signs. They can still, there are a lot of people who do this for the Republican Party. Campaign managers, they are incessantly, if you've ever worked in politics, if you've ever worked on the Hill, you worked in politics, they are always on the lookout for people who will give some charity to the cause, people who will just show up and will do grunt work, grug work for gratis. So they reach out and they're like, hey, some grunt work. And Fuentes, it's like, we'll support that. Just never disavow me. Well, they end up finding out that Fuentes is this acrimonious anti-Jew spurg, and he leads a group of spurgs, mostly more than 50% non-white, but he leads this group. And so what does he say? He says, no, I don't have anything to do with them. Like everyone else, by the way. By the way, Fuentes, on one of his shows, had made a big joke out of tricking politicians like Green to come to the AFPAC to give legitimacy to himself. He joked about that on a stream. Then decides he's going to get angry and make it like this lifetime vendetta that he's going to against. He has never stopped slandering her since. When these people then come under fire for participating in something that they were tricked into. So when Tucker talks about Fuentes wants to give a hug to, it's metaphorical, to get in a photo with, or to say he is a fan of someone, and that ends up harming that person. It does. And Fuentes doesn't care. Remember how absolutely angry I was when that little shit knew that he would damage Donald Trump by going to dinner with him, and he went anyhow. He knew it would cause harm to the Trump campaign, and he went anyhow. He did that, and what could have resulted in harm to millions of Americans, including you and me, and millions more around the world, for himself. He sacrificed all of us. He put us all on the line for his own fame so he could be at the dinner with Donald Trump. That's what that little shit did. And so that's what he did with MTG and so many others. He tricked them into and admitted this on a show, laughed about it. He said, we were just using them, he said on the show. Then it becomes a lifetime vendetta. So going back to Joe Kent finds out who they are. And I'm no fan of Joe Kent. I don't even give a shit. I'm no fan. The more system oriented they are, or seem to be, or present to be, the less I like them. But this is just the facts. He turns around and says, oh, no, got nothing to do with them. Then Fuentes decides, oh, now we're going to go to war against Joe Kent. And in true Fuentes fashion, when Joe Kent loses, Fuentes takes credit for the loss of Joe Kent with zero evidence of how he and his dysfunctional community effectuated that outcome. Zero evidence. Not, we're going to do A, B, C. Here's the evidence of A, B, and C. Here's the polling before we did A, B, and C. And here is the loss. It's just, now he hates Joe Kent and his band of dysfunctional turds. They hate Joe Kent as well. They're not even voting where Joe Kent is running. Joe Kent loses, they take credit for it like it was some great achievement of ours. But I disagree with Tucker here that it has to be some sort of... Now, there could absolutely be people behind the scenes feeding Fuentes and ultimately directing the kind of arguments that he's going to make and who's he's going to appear with and on and on. That could be going on. But you don't have to have like some shadowy force behind the scenes to understand an uppity little shit who is advocating for himself 24/7.
In the U.S. military for years fighting our neocon wars. And his wife was killed in Syria in one of those wars. Joe Kent is the single most sincere critic, and I would say the one with the most credibility in the United States to say this foreign policy is bad. It killed my wife. I was a part of it. Joe Kent is actually someone the CIA doesn't like at all because he understands how it operates. And for Nick Fuentes, who's like some child from Chicago, to go after him specifically, one congressional seat in Washington State.
I think this is also, Tucker, if you're hearing my voice, I'm sure you're not, right? Who the hell am I to you, yacht boy? But if you're hearing my voice, don't do this. Don't go into a debate about who these specific targets are, because the evidence is totally immaterial to the Fuentesians. He'll be able to claim anything he wants. So don't bother doing this. Dismiss him like you're doing here. I think you're calling him an angry gay kid from Chicago. Dismiss him like that and just move on. And I'll
random.
Tell you why more so, I guess, in a second.
It's not random, though. It's the opposite of random. Joe Kent was number one on the list of people they wanted to knock off, people who believe in our neocon foreign policy. They wanted Joe Kent out because he could stand up and say, I actually know. I've got the receipts. My wife was killed in Syria. You had to take that guy out. And Nick Fuentes, this child, this weird little gay kid in his basement in Chicago, is participating in a super PAC to bump off Joe Kent. Like, I've been around this my whole life. I know what that is. It's just an organized effort.
Yeah.
And he also did the thing that David Duke always did, including to me, which is be like, oh, yeah, it's my friend. And everyone's like, oh, Tucker Carlson's been endorsed by David Duke. I've been making like the anti-racist argument my whole life.
Right.
Like, I'm not for David Duke. Do I think David Duke is right when he's against affirmative action? You bet I do. But I'm not for David Duke. But David Duke would try to discredit people by hugging them. And that's exactly what Fuentes did. He goes out there, meet all these people, show up, hi, I'm Nick Fuentes. Can I get my picture with you?
No, I mean, really, please, Tucker, please hear my voice. That is not what is happening. I'm not saying that's impossible. That's not what's happening. Duke is there doesn't have to be a shadowy force behind the scenes, and it doesn't become more believable to the average person to claim that there's a shadowy force that has tapped Duke or Fuentes on the shoulder and said, hey, say that you're friends or you really endorse Tucker Carlson or Candace or whoever else. Just say that doesn't have to happen for these people to pursue their individual self-interest.
That's a campaign.
Tucker, I have been in the white sympathetic sphere for 3 decades. I know what I'm talking about.
To destroy credible voices on the right. And Fuentes is part of it. And I know I'm inviting.
And for that matter, Tucker, I don't like most of your positions, and I know that you don't know who I am. I'm sure that you don't like me. So because I care about white people and ending our victimization as a people, and I know that you've said that you're not a race guy. You don't want to talk. You don't want to invest in race. Okay, we disagree. I'm not hugging you. So if you'd like to have a conversation sometime, we can set that table as well, so everybody will know that you're just having an unbiased conversation with somebody who you agree very, very little with about white sympathetic sphere and what's actually going on.
Endless trouble by saying this because, this is a kid with a lot of spare time, but it's just a fact. And I've seen it a lot.
Yeah.
And I, you can believe me or not, but I know what I'm talking about.
I can confirm he's dishonest. I mean, so it's like you use that as your, like, I could not determine what his motives were. And I said, you know what? I don't have time for this.
His motives are him. Candace, his motives are him being aggrandized, being enriched. That's his motive.
I gave you a fair chance, gave you a fair shake, and you are a fundamentally dishonest human being. There was no reason to do it. If he had not.
He is more than intelligent enough to know that, and he's said many times, the Jews aren't going anywhere. They're going nowhere. So what is he doing when he speaks to this dysfunction in the population, both white and non-white? And please, Fuentes, please keep doing what you're doing. And please make it less and less white. I will handle the white positivity, the pro-white. I will handle that. You handle the multiracial anti-Jew. Just get rid of, as you were talking about with Orwell, get rid of any focus that's left on race. on the white race, at least.
Done that show and screamed and yelled, his followers would have been like, oh, that was an interesting conversation between two people who agreed some, disagreed some, and like that was it. It was.
This is another thing. Candace and Tucker, stop taking his audience as legitimate. For God's sake.
It's interesting that he got there. He doesn't want to be, and I can tell you that he doesn't want to be anywhere but where he is. He doesn't want to have normal relations. And it did sort of feel, and
this is a really lame argument. He doesn't want to have normal relations. What does that even mean?
I said that to him, that he's like responding to orders somewhere, because why are you attacking me?
Well,
why are you attacking Dave Smith? What is the issue with Dave Smith? And he couldn't answer the question.
Exactly.
He couldn't answer the question. He was just like, well,
the fakest thing I've ever.
I think Dave Smith is some atheist Jew. So demonstrating, when it comes to the Jewish people, there is a Jewish people. Some of them practice Judaism. Some of them practice Christianity. Some of them are Catholics. Some of them are Mormons. I met an extremely wealthy Jewish Mormon family in D.C. many years ago. I remember these Mormons were like, hey, you want to come over for this party? And I was like, a Mormon party? How could I pass that up? And and so I was like, yeah, we'll go. And then we get there and there's this like fabulously expensive home with an elevator and all. And my poor Virginia ass, I'm like, what in the world are these Mormons up to? And we get in there and I'm like, who are the Jews? They're like, what do you mean? Those are the Mormons that live here. It's like, oh, okay.
And I'm like, why do you hate Dave?
Okay. So anyhow, Fuentes, of course, Dave Smith is going to come to positions that are conclusions that are good for his relatives. What a surprise, right? I don't care as long as he's not anti-white. His life doesn't matter to me at all as long as he's not anti-white.
Smith over Joe Rogan.
All right. Well, I mean, his life is meaningful in that it's a human life, and I want him to live out his life fully and beautifully, as is the case for all, my opinion, for all groups of people. Let's see. This is a very interesting little interview that the little guy just did. We're just going to watch seconds of this because it's so telling. What did I have some notes for myself? Because there might have been a couple things that I saw here too. I don't know. I don't have any notes. But I do. I'm going to talk to you, Tucker, in just a moment. So I know you're watching. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to talk to you in just a moment. But what have I told you all? And this is important for you too, Tucker. So listen up. What have I told you all for years and years about what Fuentes' secret power is? What's his power? It's the fanatical, dysfunctional, neurodivergent audience who are angry at life, they're angry at the world, and he is telling them, if you go back in time, in his shows, he had this broad range of the bad guys, the baddies, that he would complain about, that his audience, so he was calculated. Fuentes's shows and his bits, his pieces, they were calculated to serve the prejudices and rage of the basement dwellers. So who did they hate? Who were they angry at? He blamed, depending on the day, everything gone wrong in the world on women. The next day, everything gone wrong in the world on boomers. The next day, everything gone wrong in the world on capitalists. The next day, everything gone wrong in the world, and also Jews. And over time, it got more and more focused on just the Jews. But this is a calculated appeal to these people. What do? If you don't like Fuentes, if you don't submit to Fuentes, this audience, many of whom have a boy crush on Nick Fuentes.
Please, sir, I want some more.
They act like they are boy crushing on him. They act like my experience in my childhood when there was a guy that a girl or girls liked, and I had a problem potentially with the guy over whatever. This happened many times. And then the girl or girls would come up to me with a very specific energy, and everywhere from fanatical, like emotional defense of the guy, all the way to beseeching me to just be kind and see the kindness and etc. That's the same energy that these boy crushers have for Nick Fuentes. So these people will terrorize content creators. They're terrorizing, and I understand there's maybe one in the audience now. Nick Fuentes is saying that Nick Fuentes is the leader of the right. He's the leader of the anti-Jews. That's what he is the leader of. The leader of the anti-Jews. We are pro-white, more specifically, white positive. He is not a leader here. He's your leader of the multiracial anti-Jew Spurgs. That's what he's the leader of. He said as much. And I quoted him in his interview with Orwell. End of conversation there. Tag me if you have anything else you want to say, though, because got my eye on you. So why is it that I am not well, there's many reasons why I'm not intimidated by a bunch of maladaptive grugs crawling out of a basement. But one of the reasons why is that I don't do this for a living. I don't do this for popularity. I don't do this for aggrandizement. I do this out of my love for Western kind to end our victimization, which I know will benefit everyone who lives in the West. Dedicated my life to this when I was 12. Sorry I didn't have like this magnificently dysfunctional life that I could have like made a comeback from, that I could have like entered a chrysalis and come out the other side as a redeemed. No, sorry I didn't. Sorry I've been consistent my whole life. Not saying I haven't made any errors in life or any bad decisions. Sorry I've been consistent. Sorry I don't have like some weird fetish or have to hide in a trash can with my notions of X, Y, or Z or sexuality or whatever it is. Sorry I've been consistent and kind of like a heroic Westman. Not sorry, obviously, at all. But the vast majority of content creators, let me just dial it back. I have told you all for years that Fuentes' power is this fanatical, boy-crushing audience who come out with this boy-crushing rage after content creators when they do not acquiesce to Fuentes as leader, when they do not celebrate him. We have looked at it again and again and again, where content creators will step out and they'll say they disagree, he's ridiculous or whatever. They will get attacked, and then immediately their tune changes. A la Exhibit A, Warren Smith. You're going to see the exact same. And I want you to look. I'm going to put it up big on the screen. I want you to look at the fear in his eyes. Listen to the words he actually says. He was terrorized by the comments after he criticized Fuentes. Warren Smith here is presumably doing this for the money, doing this for the fame, doing this for the aggrandizement. What happens to people when they enter the content creators? How many times have we seen again and again where you have these content creators who enter the Fuentes orbit and then they immediately won't talk to anyone that is not in the Fuentes orbit anymore? That's the end of it. Tucker, I hope you're listening. Take notes. I want you to take him down. I want you to destroy him and his J-spurging multiracial movement. Take it down. It is a bane to the white race.
Get out of here, asshole!
It is the bête noire of white well-being. This Jew-spurging garbage. Anti-Jew-spurging garbage. Take notes. So they show up and they terrorize. the content creators then realize, what's going to happen to my audience? These people are pouring in. My audience is reading all of this vitriol. And then what immediately comes next? All of the lies. If Warren Smith did not acquiesce to Nick Fuentes here, the very next thing that would have happened is, well, Warren Smith is a kitty diddler. Warren Smith is a criminal. Warren Smith has peculated from the church. Warren Smith, it would have gone on and on. And this guy would have watched his popularity, his likability, etc., tank. So because he needs that audience, at a minimum, he has got to placate Fuentes and his followers. He has got to, and then maybe he wants to propitiate them as well. Maybe his audience will grow. And we see that with so many. Look at Lily Gaddis. For the love of God, they slandered the ever-living shit out of her as everything imaginable under the sun. And she just took the abuse. She opened her mouth for the abuse and remained a fervent Fuentes supporter despite the endless abuse because she wanted the crumbs. She wanted the audience to grow. That's what this is about. I want you to pay close attention to this guy. Nagin says, the real one says, that's why you're the best, Jason. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, if you are one of Fuentes's boy crushers, then please tag me. I want to hear your actual arguments. Like every time you all show up boy crushing on Fuentes, we ask, what has he done for the well-being of white people? And you all never have an answer because he's done nothing. Claiming that he has made talking about getting rid of all the Jews more popular in the refuse of society is not only preposterous, but it is also of no value. It doesn't matter at all. Years ago, memory just came back. I had an HVAC guy come to the house many years ago, and the guy, non-white guy, and that guy out of nowhere started talking about the Jews out of nowhere. Like, since I was a white guy, I was going to be like, yeah. And I said, I care about white people. What are you talking about? So you have social media. Fuentes is just bringing together all of these different anti-Jew spurgs from all of these different races. Good for you. You're not going to move the Overton window in the normal population to hating Jews. It's not happening. You're never getting rid of Jews in your lifetime. So, but go right ahead and tell me. Go right ahead and tell me what he's done for the well-being of white people. Zero. In fact, what he's done is we've seen white guys in his community get kicked out of school. We've seen white guys in his community get punished for expressing these views that he shares, which he is able to use his little boy charm and the claim that he's a Mexican.
You're saying you're a white supremacist?
I'm not white supremacist. I'm Mexican. I'm not saying Fuentes.
I know. I saw that. Okay, but
to circumvent the victimization for being an anti-Jew charged as a white supremacist. But watch, I want you to pay close attention here. Proof of everything I say, that the power is this audience of boy crushers. Now, it's important to note, this is literally the opening of the stream. This isn't cut into like 5 minutes into it. You know, normally when you have somebody on your stream, when you're not terrified of their audience, ruining your reputation and the size of your audience and the growth of your audience, when you're not terrified, you're like, hey, I'm here with blah, blah, blah. We're going to be talking about whatever. How are you doing today? That's how a stream starts normally. Oh, but when you're terrified of your guest's audience, you just immediately get into self-flagellation. Oh, pay close attention to this.
I think we're good. All right, so I would begin with, I will apologize for one point that I was definitely wrong about in that video. When Candace starts to ask you about who's had an impact on what's going on right now, she's crediting Dave Smith, and I do think Dave Smith has had a big impact. But I was underestimating your size.
Look at the fear on this guy. He's fiddling with things. He's looking off to the side. He completely dodges a normal opening to a stream. He's like, okay, we're like, I just want to apologize. Please, God in heaven, please. Now, I got to tell you, over the course of this conversation, Warren Smith sounds a lot more in tune with white well-being, because he talks about being discriminated against for being white at university. And he talks about how he thinks that's wrong. What's happening, though, for him? A natural direction would be white well-being. Yes, it's wrong to discriminate against white people on the basis of our birth. White well-being would be a natural outcome for what he experienced and his exploration of what's going on in society. But what's happening instead? He is being subjugated by the multiracial anti-Jew movement by way of Nick Fuentes and his boy-crushing followers. That's what's happening. You can see the absolute terror on this kid. Terrorized. And he's, I was underestimating your size. No, you're not. He's really a little guy. He's this little he's exiguous, Warren. But he's said, oh, I totally underestimate your size. Over the course, he attempts to win Fuentes and his followers, more importantly, the followers, over by saying that several times, Fuentes is on the verge of great power. He's on the verge of great power. That's not real. Warren is scared. Listen to the next couple sentences, then we'll move on.
And what caused me to realize that was the response to that video. So it's potentially that I do think I did a slightly lazy job on it. But the comments, I've never seen anything like that.
The comments, I've never seen anything like that. You can watch the totality of this on your own. We got to keep it moving along. But proof of what I say, once again, Jason Köhne is right, demonstrating that right on screen. And then Fuentes gets to come in there and play that he's magnanimous. And this entire conversation, if you watch it, pay attention to how self-serving and convenient all of Fuentes' statements are. Now he can be a little bit more kind to this Warren guy. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I see where you're going. Now that you have submitted to this orbit for fear of your audience. He's not the last one. I really got to show this. This little charmer right here, Robin. This female, like 6 years ago, I had no idea who she was. I was on a show and a guy that hosted a show wanted to have her on. And she said, absolutely no way would she appear with no white guilt. And what was the reasoning that I was told? That I'm too aggressively masculine. This woman is supposed to be an Orthodox Christian. I hope she's changed, not from orthodoxy, but in her opinion about aggressive masculinity. She's also into something like called esoteric motherhood. You know, maybe she heard one of my rants on females not having magical powers and able to commune with the gods and therefore tell men what to do. Maybe she got upset about that. But nevertheless, never spoke to her, didn't know who she was, wouldn't appear with me because the No White Guilt guy is too aggressively masculine, says the Orthodox Christian Robin here. But who is she a fan of? Oh, the exiguous Fuentes. Doesn't like the aggressively masculine guy, but a big supporter of the opposite of that, Fuentes. Here she goes on complimenting him, glazing him, as she says, as someone who's been aware of watching Nick since around 2017. So she's been a big supporter of his for some time, I guess. Says that he makes her feel, literally, he makes her feel when she listens to him. But I wanted to bring this up. Don't bother this girl, by the way. Don't look her up and bother her. I just wanted to share the story when I saw this. And it's an interesting thing how X pushes endlessly anti-Jew spurging. Can't get a view, even from my own followers, for the white positivity. But if you're going to be a multiracial anti-Jew spurg, since the ADL had conversations with Elon Musk and the pressure was removed, you will be boosted. In this video here that she says is the greatest monologue of all time, ridiculous conclusion. Tucker's response, this is 7 minutes of his response to, or not Tucker, Fuentes' response to Tucker. In this response for 7 minutes, we're not going to watch it. We're going to keep moving. You can watch it on your own. The entire thing is Fuentes passionately burning down Tucker because Fuentes is a real American. He is one of those working class Americans, one of those from the street Americans, one of those maybe on the poorer side. His whole family, he just rails against the silver-spooned Tucker Carlson. He rails against him and says, well, Fuentes, he is just a working class. His father worked a toll booth and his grandmother killed herself or got a loan from the mom, just all this other kind of shit. Well, I had to laugh because it wasn't long ago. It was just last year that Fuentes, for a couple of months, went on and on about how this notion that the poor are noble is garbage and that we had to get rid of it, that the poor are scum, that the working class are idiots. Does anybody else see the clips then? That was just last year. He said, we've got to all celebrate the wealthy. We've got to all celebrate the most powerful, the people with the biggest achievements and the most dollars. The working class are garbage. This little shit will say anything he has to say that's convenient and serves him. And his audience, they don't give a shit how antithetical it is to what he said last week, last month, last year. He went on for months about this, how the poor are garbage. The working class are idiots and garbage. For months he did this. And his rebuttal that Robin here thinks is the greatest monologue of all time is him saying that he's got value because he's working class. He's a real American. Give me a fucking break, you little shit. Listen, I know you can manipulate all of these maladaptive tards in your audience, but you cannot manipulate people who are intelligent, people who have a decent memory, people who have integrity, people who don't have to fear being shut down by your boy crushers. End of that. Now, Tucker, I've got something that I got to say to you, and this speaks mildly to the lesson of the day, but we'll just go right to Tucker and to Candace. Do not talk about Fuentes. He gets his power from that. Do not invite him on shows. He gets his power from that. These associations, even in disagreement, when it comes to the kind of idiots that will blindly follow this guy, when they hear that he has been in proximity or in the mouth of somebody that's popular, it doesn't matter what Fuentes is saying. It doesn't matter what the person in power says about Fuentes. The person could say that Fuentes is, quote, an angry little gay kid who lives in Chicago, close quote. That doesn't matter. The fact that you said that empowers Fuentes with these idiots. Stop talking about, definitely don't, if you're going to talk about him at all, make it a just dismissive comment like that and move on. Do not have him on your shows, Candace Owens style. Do not fall for the, he just wants to have a conversation. He just wants to be understood. He's just all of these things that he has said that have been so contradictory, so objectionable, so slanderous. That was all just for entertainment. Why won't you just give him a chance to have a talk? Why won't you just, are you afraid of, do not fall for that. It's an obvious trick. Shit. Here's the bottom line, Tucker, and everybody else. Here's the bottom line. You could have this guy on for a debate, and over the course of the debate, you could be the only person talking, making your arguments, because on his side of the debate, he could be giving head to a hobo. And at the end of that conversation, every single boy crusher would claim that he had won the debate. Do not do this anymore. Do not fall for this shit anymore. Do not capitulate to the pressure of the garbage basement scum. This guy and this movement, until he comes out and openly says that it is not a pro-white movement, he makes no claim to caring about white people. It's all about being anti-Jew. Until he does that, this guy is the bête noire of white well-being, because they are going around absorbing, true to form for anti-Jew spurgs, people who have concern for white well-being, and then forcing them to capitulate and pledge fealty to this, quote, I'm a Mexican clown. More power to him to make all the money off these idiots that he wants, to get all the popularity that he wants. Stay in your lane. You're an anti-Jew spurg. Stay in your lane. When he says he doesn't want to live around blacks, that's not an argument for the white race. He is a little clown in Chicago who doesn't want to live around blacks. That's all there is to it. When white people out there who claim to be for white people, they're white sympathetic in some way, when they say they want to live in an all-white town or whatever it is, they want to be able to live someplace where it's all white norms. Good for your selfish ass. Fuentes is just as selfish as them. They're not doing anything for you in your town. They are not empowering you at all. Having a selfishly individualistic wish list is not a program to recapture our destiny and put an end to our victimization. Fuentes saying he doesn't want to live around blacks. He doesn't want to have to live in a society with Jews. Great wish list, buddy. That has nothing to do with the well-being of white people. Candace Owens, anybody else that could listen to this, that could hear this and hear these admonishments, stop falling for it. His audience is going to slander you no matter what. If you want the slandering to end, if you want the erosion of your audiences to end that is being effectuated by these boy crushers, then talking with and about Fuentes is not going to do it. You're going to have to look for another angle, And I'm not going to spell it out for you. You're going to have to look for another angle if you want that to end. If he's becoming a problem for enough content creators out there, it's either going to be submit to a bunch of basement dwelling boy crushers and their poster, almost like 1980s hairband style, their poster covered wall of Nicholas J. Fuentes. If you don't want to submit to that, then you're going to have to go about this another way, because they're going to continue coming after you and slandering you and making up lies about you until you submit to Fuentes, their crush, or you do something else. I'm tired of talking about it. I'm delighted, and I thought it was hilarious that Tucker came out there and snidely dismissed him. But at the same time, all of these conversations, you have Orwell, we're going to be talking about him in a minute, and owning Fuentes as leader. Unreal. Orwell, who says he's building communities for white people, owns Fuentes as the leader of white people? What the fuck? Sick and tired of it. This guy goes on, a great example. This guy goes on, has a debate with Dinesh D'Souza weeks ago, was obliterated by Dinesh D'Souza. Not even close. Not even close. The totality of the internet, all of these boy crushers saying that Fuentes won. It wasn't even close. And I don't like Dinesh. Not even close. So it doesn't matter. Stop it. So here, I'll just mention the lesson for the day briefly. We'll get back to it a little bit more later on. But having someone who can prosecute a case against, listen to me closely, having a like you got a prize fighter that you support, having a prize debater that can prosecute a case against Jews better than you can, that can go out and have a debate about Jews and how much power they have and how much power they should have or shouldn't have, or is not power. It does not equate to power. It does not equate to taking over a system. You could have, conceivably, you could have, for argument's sake, you could build a robot, a cyborg, that could win any argument on any subject and stick him out in the world and have him go on show after show after show, winning every single argument. You want to know how easy it will be for AI to be able to defeat a human in argumentation in the very near future? As easy as it is for them to crush us in chess. So you could have an AI cyborg go out into the world and defeat every single television host, thinker, academic, etc. in debate. There won't be some sort of mystical moment of power that accrues to the cyborg as a consequence. Do you know why that is? No, you don't. Because so many of the Fuentes supporters think that winning in a debate is the equivalent of power. Winning a debate, by the way, when the audience is everybody who is in the tank for your guy, or the vast majority of the audience are people who are in the tank for your guy. But putting that aside, not even a real debate. Why is that? Because the gravitational pull of the social morality in the West is against anti-Jew spurging. Fuentes could go and win every single debate about Jews against every news show host, and there wouldn't be a scintilla of more power in the orbit of the anti-Jews. than there was the day before he began the peregrination. Not a scintilla more of power. Winning, having a prize debater win arguments about Jews does not equate to power. And you can see this right here in this Robin character. I hope she decides to go right and decides that aggressive masculinity at a white, full-blooded white man is not something that one should shy away from or not have something to do with. Hope she decides to change her mind. But when you read her posts about Fuentes, she says him winning debates makes her think that we are going to debates about Jews that I don't know, I guess white, I assume she's white. She looks whitish. That we are somehow going to have our societies back? Absolutely not. This is the reign of the midwit. This is the basement dweller, mid and midget wit conclusions. Somebody can argue better than me, and they could beat somebody else on the TVs, on my phones, in a debate about Jews. We're so back. We have so much power. You got nothing. Nothing. He could win every conversation about Jews from here until his final debate before they put him in the ground. And there would still be not an ounce more of power to reclaim any destiny of Western kind or to disenfranchise Jews. Not a scintilla, you dumb motherfuckers. God damn it. This is the tyranny of the tard. That's what it is. It's the tyranny of the tard, and I am sick of it. You all need to just shut the absolute hell up.